So today is our last day here, thankfully. I've pretty much been out of country for 1 full month, and today is the 24th of January and I am heading back home. Although it's an overnight flight, which I'm not super happy with because I'm a very large person and it's difficult to sleep on flights. But I've got work to do today, so I'm going to get that done, get packed, get on my flight later on. Then we're back to it. Let's go. So the car is packed up and we are ready to go. So I'm currently at the airport, Coffee Mania, having some salmon crepes, cream cheese. So we're currently on our flight back to Abu Dhabi. Daniel, how do you feel about that? Ecstatic. So I've just arrived back home. We're back in sunny Abu Dhabi. Christina, the wee man, and her sister are still at the airport. I'm heading home to get the car, and then I'm going to drive back and get the rest of the luggage. We still have 2 prams to bring back home. I've not slept for the entire flight. So when we do get back home, properly home, I'm going to go for a nap. So nap is complete. Stick with the wee man who is not napping, but should be. Heading home now, we're going to play with him and his toys for a little while. I'm not going to the gym today, but tomorrow I will definitely be back to training. And this is going to be my first full week back at it in my normal gym, which I am very much looking forward to. But I've picked up some decent sort of high protein options, so I'll show you what they are later on today. So these are just some of my sort of easy go-to food options, depending on kind of what phase I'm in as well. Just now, obviously I'm going back into a gaining phase, so there is slightly more room for some things that I enjoy having. So one of the things that I do have quite often is like an ice cream protein shake. So I'll use Mackey's ice cream. I will use this protein milk, which is fantastic. And I will tend to mix that with Oreos and I'll blend it up, which is fantastic. A very quick and easy way to get a good amount of calories in and protein. Again, my diet doesn't really change a huge amount, so I will have fillet steak most of the time. Genuinely, for evening meals, I will have fillet steaks with cucumbers, tomatoes, and chips, because there's nothing wrong with chips. And one of the kind of main snacks that I'll have is yogurt. So low fat Greek yogurt, and I will mix that with protein powder. So if you are mixing your Greek yogurt, try and mix it with like a vanilla protein powder. Just tastes so much better. If it's a bit thick, put some water in. Apple, raisins, blueberries, absolute god tier. So tonight I'm having steak for dinner with chips, cucumbers, tomatoes, and then I will have one of these shakes later on. I'm keeping food kind of low today. All I've had is a protein bar so far, just to let the weight stabilise off the back of the flight, because I did have aeroplane food, which I don't tend to do, but I was starving on that flight overnight. And then tomorrow I'll be fully back to it, so back to the gym and back to eating. I think my calories are roughly going to be about 2,500 for the first week, just to see how the weight responds, see how the physique responds, and then gradually just start to increase them from there. So this is how I actually prep my steaks. So obviously this is for 3 people. I'm having 2 steaks. I'm having this one and this one. So that was 370 grams raw. Now if you want the perfect fillet steak, bring them out of the fridge, take them to like room temperature, put olive oil on, put salt on, pepper on, cumin, coriander. Literally the best steaks you will ever have in your entire life. I usually do them for 4 minutes either side, and they are perfect. Meal 1 is going down. We have 75 grams of Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Clusters. We have 400 ml across the cereal bowl and this of protein milk. Excuse me, about 40-ish grams of protein and just over 600 calories. So this is the BCAA supplement that I'm using just now from Applied Nutrition. So I've got 2 scoops of that just in a water bottle, and I will sip on that as I go through today's workout. Just heading off to the gym. I've picked up some new pre-workout because my old one ran out. C4, as always, absolute god tier, and I just got some more protein powder. So just regular Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard Whey Extreme Milk Chocolate. Now I do have more protein at home, but I have a vanilla one. I ran out my chocolate one, so those are the two that I use, vanilla and chocolate. So I had to top up on the chocolate one for my Nutella shakes. The shakes with Nutella, banana, peanut butter, absolute god tier, but you do need to have chocolate protein just to make it perfect. So this is our first official workout back in Abu Dhabi, and I'm starting off pretty much most of my workouts in the same fashion at the moment with some form of calf raise. I think I'm probably going to stick to the seated calf raise pretty much for the majority of this gaining phase, and really just try and bring the calves up as much as I possibly can do. Something that people do wrong quite a lot with calf raises is they bounce at the bottom, so you pretty much want to do what I'm doing here and have a nice pause at the bottom before coming back up to the top. So next movement, and the sort of first main movement of this workout, is flat bench. This is one of my favourite Smith machines because it basically has zero resistance, so it feels like you're benching on a normal bench, just without the sort of stability issues, and if I get stuck, I don't need a spotter. So this was 90 kilos for 5 reps for the top set. I'm doing 2 top sets at the moment, and this set I only managed to get 4 reps, so my strength has definitely dropped off massively. Even before going away in Christmas and New Year, I was I think it was 110 potentially on this exact movement, so I've definitely lost a good amount of strength. And then I went into my back off set for the bench press, so we're doing 3 sets, 2 top sets, and a back off set. And this was 80 kilos for 10 reps, I think I managed to get on this one. And obviously for myself, this morning I weighed in, I think at 176, so this is pretty much around my body weight. And obviously the first 2 sets, the top sets, are more than my body weight, which is good numbers to be fair, but I was quite annoyed that I've lost as much strength as I have done on this movement. I took a slight pause here just to get the 10 reps, but I definitely felt like the flight and the lack of sleep was kind of kicking my ass today in the gym. So we will see how strength and performance goes this week, and hopefully this time next week I'll be back up to 100 potentially. Second movement here, I was doing 3 sets of rear delt flies on cables. Shoulders for this gaining phase is probably one of the main things I'm trying to bring up. I would really like to bring up the shoulders, and I would really like to bring up the calves and also the abdominals. It's something that I'm going to be trying to develop a lot. Obviously with the physique, you'll see the physique at the end of this video. It's probably, I'd say after a month of pretty much not training, I would probably say it's the worst that my physique has looked in a very, very long time. But I still did some shameless selfies in the mirror just because we're being as open and transparent as possible. So this is after a month of travelling, but this movement still felt pretty good, and I'm looking forward to progressing this movement as we go through this gaining phase. Next movement is 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps on a close grip pull down. And I really, really enjoy using this attachment on the pull downs. Used to do it with a close grip with the actual close grip attachment, the metal bar with the straps, but I just think that this movement just feels really, really good with this attachment because I can almost push my wrists into the attachment and get a really good amount of lat engagement as well. And I feel this properly in my lats as well. So something to think about if you're doing close grip pull downs and you're not feeling a huge amount of kind of lat engagement. Try an attachment like this. You can also buy these online if your gym doesn't have them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how I can progress this movement as I go through the gaining phase as well. And one of the main things with this is retract the scapula first, like this, and then allow the arms to come down. Don't just lean forward and pull with the biceps when you're doing any form of pull down movement. The next movement was weighted dips. I had 3 sets. So on this current block, I've got 3 sets of dips for 6 to 8 reps. And again, before traveling, before being off for a month, I was doing 18.5 on this for the top sets, so for the two heavier sets, and then I have a back off body weight set. Definitely lost a lot of strength on this movement as well, but again, I've had basically 3 hours sleep over the last almost 48 hours, which is not ideal. So we done 10 kilos and I managed 3 sets of 8 reps, but I was pretty exhausted, as you can see off the back of it, but we still got a bit of a naughty chest pump. Following movement is lateral raises. So as I said, shoulders is something that I am really trying to bring up as much as I possibly can do. I think if there was anything that I would say my physique is, or not even like a weak point, but definitely something that like lets my physique down, is shoulder development. Arms are there, chest's there, everything's pretty much there in kind of equal measures, but I think shoulders would definitely help me bring up the physique massively. I also have terrible trap development, so I'm hoping that we'll kind of get some decent trap development as we go through this gaining phase, because I don't do any sort of big heavy rack pulls or deadlifts or anything where there's a huge amount of tension at the top of the movement where I am holding a weight. And obviously the main purpose of the traps is basically to support everything, so even if you're doing static holds with heavy dumbbells, it could be a good movement for traps, but I don't really do anything like shrugs or anything like that. So I'm hoping that they will come up, which they will do, alongside everything else as I go through this gaining phase. But shoulders is the main thing. Shoulders is my sort of main focus as I'm going through this. So it'll be interesting, even for you guys, just to see how the shoulders develop. I think at the moment we are training shoulders 4 times over the course of the week. 3 or 4 times over the course of the week. It's been that long since I've completed a full week of training, so excuse me if it escapes my mind at the moment, but I'm pretty sure we have four sort of days where I'm training shoulders. This is my last set here, and I was doing a double drop set as well. So you'll see me doing not even kind of half reps on this. It's basically just partial reps. So I'll do this on shoulders, especially on the last set if I'm doing a drop set. Basically, once I've reached that point of failure and I know that I'm not going to get another rep out, I'll start doing partial reps, which is basically just like this. As you can see, we're not getting a huge amount of movement, but we're at failure and we're taking the shoulders just slightly past failure. I think I dropped it again once more on this and done the same thing. So at this point, there's basically 0 weight on the cables. So again, put your ego to the side when it comes to shoulder movements. A lot of people say they're struggling to progress shoulders, I'm struggling to progress this, but your medial delt, again, is a very, very small muscle. And if you're able to isolate it properly, you're not going to move a huge amount of weight. So this was the last of the double drop set. And again, we done some partials at the end, basically just as I started to kind of reach failure. And that was the shoulders absolutely fried at this point. And then we're on to arms. So arm movements for today. The first one is the sort of tricep dip machine. I was having some issues with my right elbow, sort of right arm from Thai boxing before Christmas, and this movement is pretty much pain-free. It's not ideal, but again, it's a kind of big compound movement. Again, I can feel like it isolates maybe not so much isolates, but I feel like I get slightly more tricep activation on this than I do on sort of normal body weight dips. And obviously I have quite a lot of other tricep movements over the course of the week, so I don't really feel like I'm missing out on any sort of long head development. But we'll see how we go, and we will see how we grow as we go through this gaining phase. And if I feel like I need slightly more long head work, I will add in some more overhead style movements. But again, as you can see, I was pretty fried by this point. I actually felt exhausted. Like, you have no idea. You think my triceps are sore? My eyeballs are even more painful at this point. I literally just wanted to go home and go to bed, but I can't. I'm still awake. And then this is the last movement of the day, which is a preacher curl. I really, really like this bit of kit. I've never been able to find a preacher curl, like pin-loaded preacher curl machine that I've ever enjoyed using before. I always just felt they were very, very awkward, and I would always prefer to use a preacher curl, like a static preacher curl with free weight, instead of using like a pin-loaded machine. So this feels really, really good, and I'm actually very much looking forward to progressing this movement as I go through the rest of this gaining phase. I feel like preacher curls are such a good movement. It's one of the movements that you can actually look at your biceps afterwards
and they look like they have the right sort of pump in the right places. Whereas I feel like a lot of bicep work, you don't really get the best sort of activation from it. So this is a really, really good movement. And again, just trying to keep this slow and controlled. I try and take as much emotion out of my training as possible. I used to get super hyped up about stuff like this and put on some heavy metal music and just try and go super hard and heavy with it. But again, I'm 33, I'm a dad, I don't want to get injured. This is my full-time career, so we're being sensible with it, taking things slowly but surely, and just going for progressive overload pretty much week on week as we go through this. And this is pretty much how the physique is looking, which is not ideal. It's definitely the worst I've looked in a long time. I feel quite flat and soft as well, but we can only grow from here.